Hi everyone, welcome back to Sunny Isle. So Colossal Order has just released an update regarding tourism and hotels. Supposedly they will now spawn and we will now have tourists in the city. We have a quick look at our info view and head down to tourism. You can see I've let this run for just a little bit. We've lost pretty much everyone that we had visiting the city. You can see here we had a modest 75 and then that's just crashed down to 0. And that's probably because we don't really have any hotels or motels or tourist attractions in that matter. So if we take a look at our commercial areas, we don't actually have that much zoned in at the moment. We've got a little bit of mixed use down by the Old Town Plaza, along with a little bit following the Bridge Road, the main road that goes through the town centre, and then a little bit up here. But I believe the hotels would only spawn in low density commercial and high density commercial. What we can do is remove all the existing commercial assets that we've got in the city and see what spawns in. We'll let it all build up and see if we've got any hotels afterwards. With the weather being so warm at 32 degrees, we are experiencing a negative weather effect, which I think is a little bit unfair because some people would prefer to travel to tropical islands like this when it is warm. Hopefully that gets changed in the future. For now, let's just hit play and we'll set the speed up to 3x and see if we get any hotels spawning in. So it looks like our experiment has not worked. Probably just because we just don't have enough attraction in the area, which is a shame. Hopefully they will come eventually, but for now we'll just have to crack on with building out the city and hopefully attracting them in the future. For today's project, I'd like to focus on extending this residential area that we built a couple of episodes ago. Over here, I think is a really prime spot for some sort of attraction to maybe bring some tourists into the city. I'm thinking a football field, but then I was having a look at what was the most popular sports in the Caribbean, and cricket is actually the second most popular sport in the world after football or soccer if you're American. So interestingly, we don't have any cricket grounds in the game yet, so I think they're quite easy to build. They don't really have a strict form or structure. They can be all sorts of different sizes, different shapes. So what we can do, I think we'll be able to take advantage of the soccer field asset. And watching one of City Planner Play's recent live streams where he is able to remove some of the sub elements of the building, we'll be able to create our own cricket ground. But first I'd like to just rework this rail line. Over here we've got a smaller line going over the river and then underneath this main line. But I was never really happy with how low this bridge is to the water. I'd imagine this could flood in the future. This whole area along the river is fairly low-lying land. Doesn't really make sense to have a structure like this when we've got this main line going over the river at much higher elevation, and we can simply just branch off it, and that will allow us to also go across this road without the level crossing. And as this track becomes busier, as we've got the cargo line and the local train line using it, it makes sense to also prioritize the traffic going over here as well as the trams and the vehicles coming in and out of the city. And just over here by the South Bay neighborhood, I'd like to add a train station so that those traveling between the cargo harbor, the switch on cargo harbor and the main town, they have the opportunity to disembark in this part of town. And this part of town has a bus connection at the moment that runs along the backside of the city. It also has the tram line coming through here that goes through Reuben downtown area and also reaches up to the Valley Commercial Park. So I think this is a really good transfer point and could potentially become one of the main public transport hubs in the future. So I started off with this little platform here so that we've got a base for the train station. This is the same height that we're using on the rail that is going out of town, so it should be a suitable height. I've set this back from this road, which is possibly one of the main roads through the area that takes you down to the coast, but there's a few of these, so it never really gets that overloaded. And we could possibly build up an area around the front here. Gives us lots of opportunities to develop the area. And we're going to use the small train station. So we've got the small train station, or we've got the medium train station. I think we'll just use the small one here. And we'll just see how big it is. It does look like we'll need to extend the land a little bit. And I'm thinking, what angle does this need to be at? Because we need to be able to hook it back up to the train line over there. And I don't want it to be a super harsh angle. But I also want to be able to have a nice line going towards the river as well. And I think this will be a good spot. Okay, I managed to get a 2% gradient through here, and it looks quite steep, doesn't it? I'm thinking whether we need to reimagine this rail tunnel. Yeah, I'm not sure about that. That does look pretty extreme to me. Yeah, I'm thinking we might actually need to move the train station. I'm doing some wacky stuff here. So I'm thinking, instead of having the train station pushed all the way back up against this hillside, we'll bring it closer to this road, and that should give us a better turning radius. And I've set the height here to 7.5 meters so that we can clear this road with the rail. Okay, let's just move this over. I think that'll be all right there. Okay, let's delete this track. Do not want to remove that building. We can remove these along here. And we don't want anyone building along here. So let's remove some of that zoning. Let's remove all that. And it looks like we might end up losing that commercial asset on the end as well. But I'm not completely dissatisfied with that. It's not unnatural to see these steep embankments around rail infrastructure, especially at the turn of the century when a lot of machinery was becoming easier to get access to. And then let's reinstate that power line that takes you up to the fire watchtower. Lovely stuff. Okay, yeah, I think this is a pretty good spot for the train station. Close enough to the beach that you can hop off the train and walk down. Alternatively, come down to the sports ground once we have it built. So now we just need to connect it up to the rail. And unfortunately, I think we are going to lose some of that commercial, but that's all right. Let's grab our complex curve tool. Okay, so we're probably wanting to come in before it spans the river. Any sort of complex rail structure would probably be built over land rather than water. So let's try not screw this up and make any of the rail police upset. And let's find a guideline. I think that's it there. I can spot it coming in. There we go. That looks pretty to me. Let's put that in there. Yeah, that looks good. That looks good to me. And because we've used the anarchy tools, we now have vehicles driving through a quay wall. It's not a quay wall though, it's a retaining wall. Quay walls are typically referred to the walls that you get by a body of water. So let's try upgrade it without any of these options turned on and see if we can get anything to appear. So it goes into ground mode, which isn't what I wanted. Maybe we do want ground mode. Let's put ground mode in. It seems like they would do that. And then we'll just clean up some of these bridge points and put little crossings on there. Okay, so this is an example of the kind of finish I want for this rail line. So where we've got it going over the road, it's a nice bridge segment. I also had to create these retaining wall segments as well. You can see there's kind of a short piece between the two catenary poles. And then anywhere where it just makes sense to build up the land, it would have been a lot cheaper to do this. We'll bring the land up, and over here I did also want to preserve this public footpath. We do get quite a lot of use on this path itself, and in the future it may be upgraded to a lane. So you can see that section was quite simple to fix. Now we've just got to do this side of the track, the one that takes you around the back of the island. And this is the one that is non-electrified. But first of all, I think it's time we can actually delete this farm, since this is going to be the area of our focus today, and we can clean up the rest of this. Okay, that was fairly quick and painless. That looks good to me. And we've removed one conflict point from this main road going into the city. So that should improve some traffic. Although we didn't really have that many trains running on this line. It should avoid any sort of issues in the future. We've got a car crash pretty much at the point in which we had the train crossing anyway. So that's fortunate timing. Looks like we got a little bit of a strange track connection here. So let's see if we can use our move it tool to fix this. Can we just up and down? There we go. Easy peasy. Delete some of these trees that we've got popping back out of the track. Yeah, happy with that. We've got the train station here. We just need to connect it up to the tunnel over there. And that's the segment taking you up to the tunnel. I think this tunnel will need a little bit of work in the future. Yeah, so that's a fairly smooth slope as well. I think it was 2% down to this midpoint here, and then it was on flat land at that point. I think where we were building before was just far too high up the hill, whereas this is much better. And I didn't use any of the anarchy tools. This is a natural retaining wall, and I quite like the look of it. It fits the area, and then we've got a embanked train line here with looks like a power line coming right through. So let's just replace that. There we go, and that should be enough clearance for the trains. Yeah, plenty of clearance. So yeah, that's the new and improved coastal train line, and then we should start getting some new trains. Some trains coming through here. At the moment, we've just got these little 2-car diesel units, and it's probably not stopping here. It's probably going straight through to the depot. Going over the main bridge here, or the main road going into town, and then coming over the river. This is a much better height. Okay, so there we have it. The new station is in place with all the details. Our little 2-car DMU very short train can now pass through and drop passengers off, coming from the main harbour in the town all the way down to our cargo harbour on the edge of the map. A few details that I put in here is adding some parking using one of the road builder custom roads, along with a little turnaround at the end. We've got a little taxi stop so that people can grab a taxi if they need to extend their journey. I do see quite a lot of people taking the train from the edge of the map, coming out here and then making the last part of their journey either via taxi or they do walk down. And then along here I kept a sloped gradient using the ground tool. This is a semi-natural retaining wall in which I used a mixture of bushes and flower plants, and then in between I used some of the custom eco paving which comes with the extra tools. I think it's in the tiled surfaces, yeah, eco pavement. And to draw these, in fact I actually used the tiled transition as a line in between each section. I saw this in Mike Build's video, so you can draw the outline of the surface that you want to create, and then when you want to fill it in, I simply just clicked on eco pavement, and then using the area bucket tool I was able to fill each section in. And similarly I used the forestry surface for the base of these shrubbed areas, which I think looks quite nice. And then I finished off the whole area by adding a nice little staircase here. This is a custom staircase created by Harbour Master J, and what he's done, he's combined a bunch of existing assets or props that are in the game, and he's collected them into a single asset. So this is a local mod, so you do have to download them from Sully's Discord server, but once you've got them in, you can simply just search J stairs and you get lots of different kind of stairs, and some of them have really nice like prop work with some planters and lights. Some of them are a little bit more basic. This one's got a nice little railing coming here, and then we'll see how the Sims navigate it. I used the invisible paths to create a way down, and instead of just having one single path going all the way down, I did create a separation in the middle so that people were not blending into the ground as much as they are. I mean, they do a little bit. It's not a perfect solution, but I think it looks pretty cool. But yeah, this is a really nice addition to the area. It will serve this community really well. It offers a way into the city without necessarily going downtown. We do have, like I said before, we've got tram access and also bus access. We have a quick look at the lines in the area. We've got the new bus stop down here, which is just moved one block, so I had it nearer the roundabout, but it made more sense to have it up near the station instead, and people can either take the stairs down or walk around, or if they're using a wheelchair or something, they could easily find their way around without taking a convoluted journey. Next up, I'd like to start working on the sports ground. So I've placed a road here as kind of a guideline to where I'd like to structure this all from. And we go into the large sports park menu and select the soccer field. I'd like to use this as a base. Now I'm thinking, now that we've got that rail line to the right of us, we might not actually have that much space now, so I might edge this road a little bit closer. We'll remove that. Let's grab the lane again, and then let's connect it up. So we've got a road coming in here, and we could use that. And then using my favorite snapping tools, we'll just bring that out by 2 squares, and then we'll bring this up here, and we might want to connect it up to this road here, but for now I think that's fine. and then we'll grab the soccer field, and then let's push this back to about here. I think I want to get another building in on the back side, the top side of this. And to customize this, we'll be using the Better Bulldozer mod. So we'll open it up, selecting B. And then we want to go into remove sub-elements. And since we're not creating a football ground, we'll just remove the football field along with these goalposts. And then a couple of these training apparatus that we don't need anymore, which are super small. I'll remove those, and we'll remove the fence as well. There's these little bins that we don't need. And we also want to remove these car parking spaces. And that should be in a good spot. We also need to remove this hedge here and these lights. There we go. So that gives us a good base. In the vanilla tools, we can obviously edit the surfaces, overlap that, and it should delete itself. Similar to this one here. And this one can go as well. Okay, so you're probably wondering, what's the point of removing all of this? Since we want to create a sports ground anyway. But the sports ground I want to create is going to be much larger. It's probably going to be at least 3 or 4 times larger, filling this whole space. But I want to keep the attraction and the upkeep costs of having a sports ground. I don't want this necessarily to be a piece of decoration in the city. I want this to be actually functional. And to keep it functional, we can maintain all the attributes of the soccer field. So cricket fields can come in all sorts of shapes and sizes. And for this one, we're just going to fill the space up as much as possible. Let's just remove any of these excess pipes that we don't need. And they can also be irregular shapes. They don't have to be a perfect circle. So I'm going to go into our pavement path tool, and I'm going to select the continuous curve tool. And well, what I want to do is I need to measure the distance of this. So this is about 160 meters. Let's say 150 just to be safe. Okay, so we want to go back to our continuous curve tool. So we want to find the midpoint, which was about 78, which is about there. That should be okay. And we'll do it from this side here. So using the continuous curve tool, we're able to just to create a nice right-angled equal circle going in this direction. And then we also want to create another one here, lining up to what we've just created. And if we have a quick look at our contour lines, we can see that we've got a little bit of an embankment where we've got the train line, so we want to make sure that we avoid it. It does look like we could probably get a little bit closer. So let's go out straight. 39 meters should be okay. And then we should just be able to pull this all the way up here. And yeah, we can see that it's not quite right. There we go. We're just skirting the edge of that hill, but that should be good enough. And then we'll just put that in here. So this will be the cricket ground. Now, cricket grounds usually have a main playing pitch in the middle, and these are often created using AstroTurf or a very fine gravel. So I think what we're going to do, since it's quite a dry climate on this map, I am going to use a type of sand here. So I'll probably just go for lighter sand surface. What I've noticed now is I don't quite know where the middle is, so I'm going to use my path tool and find the center point of this and go all the way across, and then we'll just eyeball this so we can start to draw an outline using net lanes, and then we can use our fill tool, similar to how we created the retaining wall at the train station. As I said, this main bowling green, I want it to be a solid base, and typically what you get on some of these pitches, they will use a section next to the main playing area for practicing or for some minor games, and they will use these over time, and they'll slowly become more worn out. So what we can do to replicate that is use some of Sully's sand textures. So we've got the thin, medium and thick, and then we can slowly go further away from the main playing area and kind of show some sort of progression through the area as people are using different parts of the field. And what's great about cricket fields is they can kind of show a little bit of history of how much the ground is being used. Okay, now with that in place, I did have to kind of estimate some of the sizes because I think anything underneath 12 meters just wouldn't appear on the measurement markers, but it looks good to me. I'm going to start putting some of the lines in now. So there'll be a few on the bowling green itself and then one around the edge. I don't want to keep this path here. I think we'll just use this more as a guideline. And yeah, we'll start to put the shape of the field together. Okay, so the basic line work is in place, and these are a little bit thicker than what they'd be in real life, but this is all we've got in the game for now. So it looks good, and at least you can see it from a distance, which I think is quite nice. And for this outer area, I think I'm going to draw the grass in first. I'm going to be using some of Sully's new manicured grass that has just been released on the PDX mods store, and I'm thinking we'd go for, should we go for a checkered or should we go for just a nice classic stripe? Let's go for a checkered. I think that'd be nice. So the trick with these is to always draw the axes which you want these to sit on first. And I'm wondering, do I want to go for something a little bit more angled, or should we... Yeah, let's do something angled. So we'll probably just do this for now, and then we'll have to tidy that section up. And then we're just going to gently go around and follow this path. And this is the main reason why this path is here. If we just turn off some of the snapping tools, this just makes it a lot easier to go along the edge of the curve here and make a really nice grassy area. We'll have our cricket pitch in place, and I think that looks pretty good. I think that texture is quite nice, and if we want to change it, we could simply just go back into our surfaces, use our replace tool, which comes with the area bucket tool, and we can try some of the others. So we could try the small instead, or the large. All these are pretty good. I mean, they've got some really nice fancy ones here with the circles, but I don't think that would be very appropriate for cricket. It'd probably make everybody's game slightly off. I think the checkered look looks great, and the way these are designed is they use a slight 3D effect. So depending on what angle you're looking at it, you can see here it's not as obvious. And just like grass in real life, depending on the angle of the sun and where you're viewing it, it can appear differently, but I think that looks really good. Okay, now we can draw in the outline. So typically on a lot of cricket fields, this is actually done with a rope, but since we don't have the rope, I'll be using this line paint again. And we should be able to follow a similar method as drawing the pavement by using the continuous curve tool. If we find the right spot and just bring that all the way around. It doesn't need to be perfect. We probably need to move a little bit further in. The line works in. Now, some cricket grounds do have another ring that goes around the center area, so we'll place that in as well. This is typically around about 22 meters distance all the way around the main bowling green, so let's see if we can do this without struggling too much. Okay, now that we've got all the line work in place, we can start to decorate around the edges. And to do that, I think we're going to take inspiration from the soccer field asset, using maybe a couple of stands. I don't want to completely go overboard. Okay, so I've got the bare bones of the sports club together. We've got the clubhouse, which I'm using an elementary school so that we can bolster our education supply in the city. And we also have the opportunity to extend it in the future. Little car park at the side, along with a tennis court. I didn't go overboard with the seating. I've actually only got these two here. Might add another one or two along the edge of the clubhouse to protect some of the windows, but having a look at these online, they don't necessarily have a lot of seating, especially if it's not a large national club. And being that we're only a town of around about 40,000 people, I can't imagine they would have such a prestigious sports club. So this is a pretty good size. And along with a lot of these sports clubs, there's usually a bar and activities for children. So we've got the playground at the back, and that also gives us a bonus, an extra well-being within 300 meters and some more attraction to the area. And what we can do now is, within the soccer field asset, we go to if we go to our landscaping tools and go to spaces and areas, we can see we've got all these different areas that we can paint, but these don't necessarily work, not without them being within an asset already, or I'm not aware of getting them to work. But what we can do is see inside this asset, there's quite a few existing areas, and what we can do is we can stretch these out to cover the playing area of the field, and then we can actually see people using it. So we just grab one of these corners. I think this outer area here is simply just a walking space, so I'm going to pull this one all the way out to the edge of the field, and then we can have people walking around the edge. And then for the others, we'll keep them more in the middle. All right, here we go. This is the sports ground in its completion with all the details. So we'll just give you a quick tour. First of all, I did place a few residential along the road here just to finish off the street scene. So as you come into town, well, this is the town now, but this used to be the main road going into town. You now have buildings flanking both sides, and if you live here, it's a pretty good place to watch the game. You've got these little balconies, and as these level up, I think the level 4 and 5 models also retain that, but regardless, you'll be able to see the game, a great view of the game, and hopefully you won't get any balls coming over and smashing your windows. But it's a pretty good spot, and typically in cricket the ball runs along the ground before it gets to the edge of the field. And then if we take a look at the field itself, I've got all the line working. I've got these fence panels. I'm not 100% sure what they do, but they help with the vision at least. But yeah, if you look down here, I even managed to find these tiny little poles for the wickets. Unfortunately, we don't have any little horizontal poles that we can put on top, but from a distance they look pretty good to me. Over here we've got the stand, the seating, which I did recolor yellow. I think it's quite a nice color for this. And we've got a little food area where people can buy maybe a beer or a glass of cider, watch the game. And you do get people coming down here and hanging out based on the original hangout areas of the soccer stadium. I didn't think it was working, but we are getting a few people coming onto the field as well, although this guy looks to be quite upset about something. But I've seen people go as far out as the wickets, which is quite exciting. I'm not sure why they're not using the whole field, but I remember the soccer field didn't really get that much use either, so it might be based on the attractive qualities of the building. And then if we look over here, yeah, we've got the park and we filled it out with some nice pavements, some trees. We've got somebody walking along the path here. I've put a little invisible path that goes all along the length of the clubhouse. And then we've got a little makeshift seating area here where there's probably like another little cafe or something, and people can bring their little chairs out, fold them up, put them away at night. And yeah, it's looking good. And the car park is just lightly decorated with a little bit of hedging. And then we've got this nice little lookout point if you're just walking along and you want to sit down by the river and maybe watch one of the trains go by. It's very cozy, I like that. So yeah, pretty happy with how it's all come out. I've even put some lighting on it, so if we just change this to night. There we go. I mean, the lighting isn't that strong on the field, but we can use our imaginations. And look, we've got another person coming out here, and it looks like they might be wearing their cricket attire. Look at this. So they do seem to work a little bit, and they do stand around and do stuff. It's not perfect, but it works for me. And yeah, it's come together really nicely. We've got this little footpath over here. And yeah, really happy with this build. I'm happy that we've got the train station down here as well, so there's easy access. And if you're on the train, because you're on the embankment, you can see the game in progress, which is quite fun. And yeah, I'd just like to reflect on the past 12 months since the game came out. I started playing Cities Skylines 2 purely in vanilla using GeForce Now, and I was a vanilla player all the way up to around April or even May, and I was quite happy with the game as it was. I knew the updates were coming, I knew there were bugs, and I just worked around it. But once I got access to mods using a custom PC, the game has really blown up, and it's probably only in the past few months that I've really discovered all the individual creators and artists that are hard at work making the game so much more dynamic. And none of this that you see here would have been possible 12 months ago, probably not even 6 months ago. So I just want to say thank you to all the content creators for putting together such incredible assets and allowing us to have so much freedom in the game. And it really holds promise to where this game is going and what we'll be able to do in the future. So with that, I'd like to have a quick tour of what we built today, and we'll see you in the next one.